And now for our next news special report.
In this special report, what I'm about to show you will not just open your eyes, it will astonish you. Imagine a city once bustling with energy, now swamped with a tide of illegal migrants. This isn't just a scene from a dystopian novel. This is today's Chicago, a city under siege by its own policies. Over 21,000 asylum seekers have descended upon the Windy City, and the cost? A jaw-dropping $638 million of taxpayer money. But who's really to blame here? Is it just a problem of policy, or is there a deeper, more insidious cause at play? You need to watch this entire report to grasp the full scale of this crisis, and trust me, you don't want to miss my final thought on why this matters not just to Chicago, but to every American citizen. Now, before we dive deeper into this crisis, let's take a moment. Just as Chicago's current turmoil didn't happen overnight, neither did the soaring value of gold. It's a reminder of the stability and reliability in uncertain times. Wars, economic shifts, reminiscent of the turbulent 70s, have pushed gold past $2,000 an ounce. Our national debt skyrockets, and so does gold's value, echoing a pattern from decades ago. It's a stark contrast to the chaos we're witnessing in cities like Chicago. And the prudent step? Securing your assets. Patriot Gold Group is offering a no-fee-for-life IRA on qualifying rollovers and ensures your future is protected. For a free investor guide, call 888-857-9437. That's the number on the screen. Write it down. Protect your wealth as you witness a city's struggle with its own. Now, in Chicago, a city renowned for its vibrant culture and architectural beauty, a different kind of landscape is unfolding, one shaped by the influx of over 21,000 asylum seekers since August of 2022. This wave of migrants, a direct consequence of Chicago's sanctuary city status and broader federal immigration policies, is placing an unprecedented strain on the city's resources and infrastructure. Amidst the backdrop of these statistics, Ben Berquam from Real America's Voice, well, he offers an eyewitness account that brings the numbers to life. In the video clip you're about to see, he reports from the heart of Chicago. We have several clips here, absolutely startling, revealing the raw and unfiltered reality of the city's struggle with the influx of asylum seekers. His report, captured at various locations across the city, paints a stark picture of the challenges and the underground activities that are emerging in response to the crisis. From overcrowded warehouses filled with migrants to black market operations and the exploitation of children for begging in the freezing cold, Berquam's account is both alarming and revealing. His observations we're about to share with you underscore the immediate consequences of the federal immigration policies and the local response to the ongoing situation. Take a look.
Hey Gary, I'm at one of multiple locations across Chicago. Came up from the border, bringing the story of Law and Border, Real America's Voice News, and the invasion on our southern border to the streets of Chicago. We've been to New York, we've been all over the country showing the impacts. I'm at one of the locations. This one is insane. This warehouse, you can see that large building behind me, and all of these buildings here are full of illegals. All the way across the street over here, you can see people lined up. Basically, there's a black market over here now. Everywhere you go where this is happening, you've got black markets set up. Been traveling all over the city, documenting what's happening. One of the worst things I see everywhere are children being exploited. They're out, it's freezing, below freezing. The lows are in the 20s right now, and it's only going to get colder. And they're using children to beg on the streets. Most of the people here have no work permits. Most of them don't have papers. Most of their appointments aren't for 3 or 4 years or even beyond that into the future. And so what do? They beg, they panhandle, they commit crimes. We've got drug dealing going on. You've got black markets going on. You got all this garbage going on. And every single day, we're pumping thousands more in because of Joe Biden's open border policies.
So this is just the beginning of our report. The scene that he captures add depth to the statistics that are often cited in discussions about the city's handling of the migrant influx. Beyond the 12,281 migrants sheltered in city-run facilities and others accommodated in police stations and O'Hare International Airport, there is an unfolding reality of makeshift living conditions, black markets, and a palpable sense of desperation. These visuals provide a more comprehensive understanding of the crisis, revealing the city's struggle with policy decisions that extend far beyond the capacity of its public spaces and resources. The issue transcends mere numbers. It's a multi-dimensional challenge that's manifesting in various forms, including the exploitation of vulnerable individuals and the emergence of underground economies. And the financial burden of this humanitarian challenge is falling squarely on the shoulders of Illinois taxpayers. The state has allocated a staggering $160 million in new funding to aid Chicago in managing this crisis. This, however, is just a portion of a much larger sum. Due to Chicago's sanctuary policies and the state's alignment with these principles, taxpayers are facing a bill of $638 million to address the fallout from what many are calling a policy-induced crisis. Governor J.B. Pritzker, Mayor Brandon Johnson, both advocates of sanctuary policies, find themselves at the center of this contentious debate. The funds allocated are aimed at providing shelter and services to migrants, but questions about the efficiency and sustainability of these measures persist. Illinois taxpayers already committed to over $2 billion in costs for providing health care benefits to illegal immigrants. Well, they're now questioning, when is enough enough? And the situation at O'Hare International Airport, a major international hub, is particularly telling. Berquam, from Real America's Voice, highlighted the severity of the situation in a recent tweet. He shared footage showing how a significant portion of the shuttle terminal has been repurposed to house migrants, a clear sign of the city's struggle to cope with the influx. Watch.
So we actually got a whole group going back in right now as we speak. They're actually letting them off the school bus, which is interesting. Venezuela, Venezuela. ¿De dónde son? Venezuela, Venezuela, Venezuela. So they're actually using an old school bus right across from the airport Hilton, Terminal 2. And then they go in back behind the black curtains. About 300 estimate in there right now. From what I've seen, mostly men, but I don't. The folks out here, they're not talking. The school bus letting off. ¿De dónde son? Venezuela? ¿De dónde son? Africa? Where are you from? Senegal? Venezuela?
No, Sudan.
Where?
Sudan.
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 Sudan. Wow. Thank you. Wow, from the Sudan. So we had some Africans. Why are you telling him to cover his face? What is there to hide? Isn't this good? Aren't you happy about it? Using school buses to transport? So we got some more Africans going out. So I'm just hanging out in the seating area here at the shuttle terminal. If you're wondering, more than half of the shuttle terminal has been taken over. Come here to get a shuttle. Just be prepared.
Now, his coverage extended to a local police precinct where he documented the extent to which public facilities are being overwhelmed. His report from the 20th Police Precinct in Chicago showed a facility inundated with migrants, a situation he described as a city being overrun. Watch.
¿De dónde son? Venezuela. 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 ¿Ah? Venezuela. ¿Ah? Colombia. ¿Cuántos días aquí? ¿Uno día?
Un mes y 4 meses. 2 meses acá ya. 2 meses.
2 meses aquí?
Ya.
You're from Venezuela? From Venezuela. How long you've been here? ¿Cuántos días aquí? Or meses?
Como 3 semanas.
3 semanas?
3 semanas.
Okay. ¿Tu familia o
Sí, con mi esposa.
la esposa aquí?
Sí.
Okay. So where you're actually supposed to be able to go up and talk to a police officer is now taken over by beds. All the way down. This is the state of Chicago. All the way over here. So this is crazy. So this is the second stop from leaving the airport. We're at the 20th Police Precinct in Chicago. One of the guys says he's been here for 2 months. This is wild, man. You got tents set up all outside. You got people just sleeping on the floor here. And this is one of 56 locations. And it's just starting to get cold. This is going to be a nightmare. And again, it's been brought to you by Mayor Johnson. Mayor Johnson and all of the sanctuary supporting Democrats in Chicago invited this. They've created this, and now they're having to live with it. And you can see the disaster behind me that they're having to live with. You got women and children, and mostly men, but women and children here as well, that are going into the winter in Chicago. And if any of you have ever been through a winter in Chicago, it's going to be a disaster, man. Absolute disaster. And there's no end in sight. The numbers we see coming across right now are only increasing. Way to go, Democrats. Okay. So 2025, 2026, year 2027. Wow. What about these guys? 2026? 2026? So these guys, this is crazy. So I'm talking to this guy. He doesn't want to go on camera, but talking to some of the other guys. Their court dates, they're waiting. So they can't work because they don't have papers. They came across illegally, but are waiting for immigration attorney or immigration court until they have that trial. They can't work. So 2027 here, 2025 here, 2026, 2026, 2026. 3 years for these guys, 4 years for this guy. And the Democrats just keep inviting more, saying, come on up. It's a better life for you. But then you get here and you got nothing to do. And they're literally, this guy's been, it's 2 months.
Yeah.
He's been in this police precinct, the 20th police precinct in Chicago for 2 months. That's insane. Man, I heard it was bad, but you got to see it to believe it. And it's only going to get worse. You did this, Mayor Johnson, all of the Democrats in Chicago, Governor Pritzker, you did this. You did this. MAGA didn't do this, but MAGA's going to fix it. That's the only solution, guys.
MAGA is going to fix this. Now, the human aspect of this crisis was further highlighted in another one of his reports, which captured a Venezuelan woman and her children on the streets of Chicago. This footage starkly illustrates the personal struggles faced by many of these migrants caught in the crosshairs of a political and policy-driven predicament. Watch.
¿De dónde son? Venezuela? Venezuela? Reportero. Okay. You're in public, so this is one of the problems. She didn't want to be on camera, the woman down sitting down there with the kids. It's really child endangerment. It's going to be in the 30s very soon, the high. And so you got these kids out here with these supposed parents, but nobody's paying attention to this. You've got no social services. You've got no child protective services. If you or I were out here, it's child endangerment. And that's what the Democrats are inviting. You have to give me permission. No, don't touch. No, okay, then go back. I don't have to, you don't have to give me permission. She's upset that I'm filming her. She says she didn't give me permission, but she doesn't realize she tried to grab my phone. That's what we're inviting in, guys. She tried to grab my phone saying she didn't give me permission. She wants me to pay her, is what she wants. And she ran after me. But the problem, that's the thing. That's what we're inviting in, a third world mindset. They don't realize I have a right. I have a right as a journalist to do this. You don't have a right to come and try to take my phone.
Amidst this, Illinois' efforts to create a more structured response to the migrant crisis are underway. The state plans to spend $30 million to establish a large intake and welcome center for newly arrived migrants. This move is aimed at reducing bottlenecks in providing services and finding housing for the asylum seekers. However, the effectiveness of these measures in the face of such overwhelming numbers remains to be seen. The situation has also raised questions about the transparency and accountability in the use of taxpayer funds. State Representative Brad Halbrook, representing Shelbyville, has voiced concerns over the lack of clarity and cooperation from the state regarding the expenditure of these funds. Halbrook's concerns reflect a broader sentiment among taxpayers and lawmakers alike who are increasingly weary of the financial and social implications of the state and city's immigration policies. The debate over Chicago's migrant crisis isn't just about numbers and policies, it's about the impact on communities and taxpayers. It's a story of a city's struggle to balance the ideals with reality and state leaders grappling with the consequences of their policy decisions and ordinary citizens bearing the cost of what many see as a mismanaged approach to a very complex issue. In the midst of this, Berquam stands out, his voice. Speaking to Steve Bannon, he pointedly attributed the crisis not to MAGA Republicans, but to the city's long-standing sanctuary policies. This is not a MAGA problem, this is your problem. That's what he said about Mayor Johnson, emphasizing that the responsibility lies with those who've invited the situation through their policies. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Steve, this is my first stop on this journey to show what the implications of the border, not just on the border, but on the cities that they reach. And we did a couple days out there in New York, just came to Chicago. I'll be here all weekend. I'm starting here actually at the airport. Right, you can see behind me, 3/4 of this shuttle bus terminal has been taken over. All of those, the black sheets you can see behind me, you've got illegals behind there, basically this entire thing. Now, but what it was before, I'll just turn the camera, were all these seats that you can see. Now this entire thing has been taken over for the illegal migrants that have come across. This is the one of 56 locations, and they're expanding. That's also why you've got residents of Chicago so outraged by what's going on. And I've been talking to some of the people. As soon as I got here, there were 2 school buses that showed up. They were unloading, mostly military-age men that came off. I actually spoke to several of them, had some really good conversations with the guys coming in. As you and I always talk about, I don't blame the people that are coming nearly as much as I blame the people that are inviting them. And not only is Mayor Adams in New York saying that he needs more money and blaming other people, you actually have the mayor of Chicago a week ago came out and blamed right-wing extremist MAGA supporters for what you see going on in Chicago. And I got a message for Mayor Johnson. This is not a MAGA problem, Mayor Johnson. This is your problem. This is a Democrat sanctuary city problem. Chicago's been a sanctuary city for 38 years. A lot of people don't know that. You invited this, Mayor Johnson, and now your citizens, your residents are pissed off. They're pissed off at you. They're pissed off at your policies. They're not pissed off at MAGA. MAGA is not the problem. MAGA is the solution. So we're starting here. I'm going to be going to some of those 56 different locations across the city and showing you what the mainstream media doesn't want you to see.
Well, you're seeing it right here on the Next News Network as well. So as Chicago navigates this crisis, the broader implications for immigration policy and sanctuary cities across the United States are clear. The debate over how to manage and support asylum seekers while ensuring the sustainability and security of urban communities is more relevant than ever. The Chicago migrant crisis stands as a cautionary tale of the complex interplay between policy, humanitarianism, and the everyday realities of city governance. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's more than just a call to action. It's an invitation to stay informed and engaged in a story that affects not just Chicago, but every American grappling with similar challenges. In closing, the situation in Chicago serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of policy decisions on a grand scale. It's not just a story about migrants or funding. It's a tale of a city, and by extension, a nation, grappling with the realities of its choices. Sanctuary city policies, while noble in intention, have led to unintended and profound impacts on the fabric of urban communities. This isn't just Chicago's problem. It's a national issue that calls for a reevaluation of how we approach immigration and asylum in our republic. The cost, both financial and social, of these policies needs a hard, unflinching look. This story matters because it's about the balance between compassion and pragmatism, about finding a sustainable way forward managing the complex issue of immigration. It's a reminder that policies must be crafted with foresight and a deep understanding of the long-term implications on the American people. Until then, we can only blame one person, and that's Joe Biden.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.